Hey folks, and welcome to CarStarz' 10 Wild Facts about the driver's 73 Chevy Chevelle Malibu in the 2011 film, Drive. Fact number 1. There were 3 1973 Chevrolet Chevelle Malibus sourced for use in the film. With the hero car already on board, production had brokers at Cinema Vehicle Services start the search by combing through their salvage yard contacts for a couple more restorable third-generation Chevelles that had clean paperwork. They did indeed find a couple more 73 Chevelles around LA, both in quite rough shape compared to the hero car, however, but with straight frames and intact glass at least. The two were bought for little more than scrap value, then trucked to the production warehouse where the transportation team tagged them for their intended uses, one for a camera/backup car and the other as a dedicated stunt car. At the shop, fabricators stripped them down and replaced any too far gone metal. After welding, filling, and sanding, they sprayed them in a coat of flat gray primer to match the hero car's general performance over looks appeal that the director Nicholas Winding Refn had requested. Once painted and any other aesthetic details were made consistent across all 3 cars, viewers wouldn't be able to tell them apart, just as planned. They also had picked up some spare third-gen Chevelle parts, mostly extra body parts along with other high potential of being damaged parts, such as bumpers and headlights and such, while they were at the yards. That extra parts stash, along with the established multi-car fleet, meant they could swap panels or even stand in a whole different car on short notice and everything would still look like the same car on screen. Fact number 2. Despite the added-on 454 badging we see on the fenders, all 3 Chevelles actually ran 350 V8s. The in-house mechanics opted for the cheapest route of fully fixing up and/or rebuilding each 350 instead of just swapping in crate engines. To achieve a bit of a power bump, they installed 4-barrel carbs, upgraded the ignition system, and added long tube headers in each car as well, which is about as far as the performance mods went. Those changes renewed many years' worth of wear and tear and gave the crew 3 power plants that behaved mostly the same and also quite reliably. The refreshed 350s output around 200 net horsepower, which is a little more power over the stock 175, but they did want to keep the setups mild to maintain reliability over everything else for filming purposes, of course. More important for the stunt team, the improved torque let them accelerate harder and get the rear end loose when needed. Yet they could settle right back down for use in dialogue scenes without fuss. Matching the powertrain across the 3 ensured any car could stand in for one another without the audience noticing a change in sound or performance. Behind each small block sat a rebuilt TH350 3-speed automatic transmission. The shop installed heavy-duty clutch packs, a higher stall torque converter, and transmission coolers to shed heat during repeated full throttle takes. Again, using identical builds across all 3 cars meant spare parts, backup units, and even complete drive lines could be swapped in minutes if necessary, keeping the fleet mechanically interchangeable and camera-ready throughout the demanding shoots. Fact number 3. Getting back to the first acquired car for the film, the hero car, although practically unheard of in the industry, the director actually allowed the actor, Ryan Gosling, to pick whatever car he thought was the best fit for his driver character. Gosling checked out a handful of LA wrecking yards and settled on a fairly neglected 73 Chevelle Malibu with a price tag of around $2,000. Its rough, anonymous look fit the character's need to disappear in plain sight, so to speak, yet the sturdy small block V8 would offer enough muscle potential for a quick getaway, so the studio purchased it outright. Even more unusual yet, several weeks before filming began, Gosling was even allowed to do some of the work on the car himself. Unlike the later sourced stunt and camera cars, this hero Chevelle wasn't in too bad of shape, so the engine didn't need a full rebuild, just a bit of TLC and some minor work to get it up and running well again. Gosling performed the hands-on jobs that he could tackle solo, like stripping interior panels, cleaning up the chassis and engine compartment, replacing hoses, belts, and gaskets, and bolting on a new carb to fix it up as much as he could himself. Then, studio mechanics stepped in for the heavy lifting, such as rebuilding and upgrading the automatic transmission, safety reinforcements, and any bodywork, including repainting it in a fresh coat of the drab gray primer color chosen for the cars. By the time shooting began, Gosling had got to know the car inside and out, which he felt was important to get into his character as much as possible. The transportation crew used its appearance as the template for the other 2 cars, ensuring continuity across all sequences. Gosling's long evenings in the garage paid off on set, as his comfort behind the wheel, as well as in the shoes of the driver character himself, certainly shows on screen. Fact number 4. Chevrolet launched the third-generation Chevelle for 1973, introducing the new colonnade body with fixed B-pillars and frameless side glass, a first departure from the hardtop look that had defined earlier models. Federal safety rules drove much of the redesign, so every car wore hefty 5-mile-per-hour bumpers, a stronger roof structure, and side impact beams in the doors. Those changes added weight, yet they also gave the midsize Chevy a more planted feel on the road and helped it achieve some of the best crash test results in its class as well. Buyers could still order everything from a thrifty 256 cylinder to a thumping 454 big block in 1973, but tightening emission standards and the switch to unleaded fuel cut horsepower across the whole range significantly. Chevy shifted focus toward ride comfort with the radial-tuned suspension option, quieter interiors, and novel swivel bucket seats that turned outward for easier entry. Trim levels evolved too, with the Malibu becoming the base nameplate and the upscale Laguna, later the Laguna S3, stepping in for performance-minded customers after the SS badge was dropped. The Laguna S3 quickly earned a reputation on NASCAR tracks, where its smoother front fascia and sloped rear window delivered a measurable aerodynamic edge. Drivers such as Cale Yarborough piloted Laguna S3s to multiple wins in 1974 and 1975, prompting series officials to revise body style rules the following season. Sales of the heavier, regulation-driven Chevelle family cooled by 1976, and 1977 marked the final year of the Chevelle model name to date. Today, collectors are re-evaluating these once-overlooked model years, especially well-optioned Laguna S3 models and early big block survivors, for their unique mix of safety-era engineering and classic V8 character. Fact number 5. As for the visual modifications made to the cars for their role, anything that made the Malibu look even moderately flashy, such as chrome moldings, factory emblems, and the chrome grille accents, were removed. To complete the understated performance-oriented vibe, they added a set of staggered weld drag-light aftermarket wheels across the 3 cars. They kept the overall look as if it was in a constant state of not-quite-finished condition, much like the way it actually is for most hobbyists' continuous ever-changing project cars, which was a good fit for the character who spends most of his time working in the shop. The stunt car received some extra steps to increase safety and rigidity. Steel plates were welded behind both bumpers so the car could handle a bit more abuse, and a low-profile roll cage was installed. A number of additional overall chassis reinforcements were made, along with installing stiffer springs, fresh bushings, and heavy-duty shocks raised the car's abuse tolerance to help stabilize the car for aggressive driving, and also to help hold it all together for the high-contact scenes. The interiors were also tailored to their specific jobs. The camera car's passenger side door was mounted on quick-release latches so a lens could glide right past the driver's shoulder, and threaded inserts beneath the seats gave riggers solid anchor points for poles and sliders. An aftermarket 3-spoke racing steering wheel, column-mounted tachometer, and trio of mechanical gauges supplied a home-built race car appeal while giving stunt coordinators quick and simple status checks between takes. Fact number 6. As for the post-production fate of the stunt car, it was the unlucky one that was used for the final crash stunt along the Pacific Coast Highway, and despite the car being portrayed as undamaged by the impact on screen, of course a hit that hard in reality, rode off the stunt car despite its reinforced chassis. The collision bent the frame, twisted the radiator support, and crumpled the bodywork. By the time those night shots wrapped, the transportation log stamped the car as totaled, and no attempt was made at straightening or storing it for later use. Before anything left the lot, the on-set mechanics pulled any salvageable parts they could, and the drivetrain was yanked for teardown and reuse. The rest of the remaining metal was trailered up and hauled off to a scrapyard. Once the paperwork was signed off, the crew cut it into manageable sections, and the metal pile was recycled. Outside of a few behind-the-scenes shots and the footage we see on screen, the stunt Chevelle story ends at the scales, its sacrifice locked forever into the movie's climactic crash scene. Fact number 7. Soon after filming wrapped in late 2010, the backup/camera Chevelle was cleaned up, given a fresh clear satin respray to protect the primer, and it was parked in studio storage for about 2 years. A private buyer in Midland, Texas, acquired it around early 2013, along with the studio's certificate of authenticity and a box of the driver toothpicks that had been left in the glove box. The new owner kept it road legal and occasionally showed it at regional cruise-ins before deciding to resell it a few years later. The camera car then appeared on ClassicCars.com in the spring of 2017, advertised as one of 3 screen-used Chevelles from Drive and still wearing the protective satin finish over the chalky primer seen on screen. The listing highlighted its history as the interior camera platform and light stunt work backup car, and it included studio paperwork confirming provenance. It remained online for roughly a year, then marked as sold by mid-2018, suggesting a private transaction rather than an auction hammer drop. By 2023, the car had crossed the Atlantic. A feature published on September 29th of that year described the car being on static display at Movie Car Central, a museum south of Paris run by collector Frank Galliègue. Galliègue told reporters it is one of 2 surviving Chevelles from Drive, and, unlike most of his fleet, it is not available for customer drives due to its screen use authenticity. Fact number 8. As for the hero car, it actually left the transportation roster with Ryan Gosling, complete with the studio paperwork that identified it as the main screen car. Apparently, since he had spent so much time with the car, both off and on screen, Gosling built up such a strong attachment to the car that he wanted to keep it, and he was allowed to do so. Yet another uncommon practice in the filming industry, it went with him exactly as it appeared in the film. It wasn't even detailed or repainted. The car was driven off the lot as a working prop that had just finished its job, so it was essentially claimed as a keepsake by Gosling. During the 2011 publicity run for the film, Gosling stated in interviews that he had kept the hero Chevelle and that it was personal to him. After those comments, no public auction listings, dealer consignments, or museum loans for that vehicle surfaced. The major picture car broker never cataloged it further, no reputable auction house ever advertised it, and fan media tracking groups of notable movie cars has not even documented any public appearances of it. Every detail available to date indicates it still remains in Gosling's hands exactly as it left the set. Fact number 9. Interestingly, although the car had fairly minimal screen time in the film, Drive seemed to help spark a new wave of appreciation for the previously undervalued third-generation Chevelle, resulting in fan interest of turning forgotten 1973 to 77 Chevelles into replicas of the film car. Online posts reveal a number of film-inspired owners stripping chrome, spraying flat primer gray, and popping 454 emblems on the fenders as a nod to the film. Interiors may even get a budget sport wheel and generic aftermarket gauges, similar to what was seen on screen. The final result giving off the same understated performance vibe that the screen-used car was going for. Nothing shiny, nothing modern, just a believable road and track beater. The shared goal is always the same: keep it usable, keep it cheap, and just a little dangerous looking as well. Fact number 10. Looking into the scale model scene, as one may expect, since the third-gen Chevelle simply hasn't gained the level of popularity that the far more well-known first and second-gen Chevelles have, there aren't a whole lot of scale model options available of them out there. As far as die-cast models go, there was eventually a somewhat official 1/64th scale Drive direct replica 73 Chevelle made by Greenlight, which is pretty cool and can be had for around the $12 mark on the current retail market, but probably the most detailed third-gen Chevelle die-cast model you'll find in general out there now would just be this 1/43rd scale 73 Chevelle SS model here from Altaia that can be had for about $70 on eBay. I will put a link in the description below to where you can get the 1/64th Greenlight replica for those interested. Probably the best and highest detail way to go though would be building a plastic model kit, but even that path has a catch. The old AMT/MPC model kits of the 73 Chevelle have long since been out of production, so that leaves us with only third-party resin kits at this point. The good news is that there are some quite high-quality 1/25th scale ones available on eBay. The bad news is they are quite pricey, ranging from about $70 to $180. By the way, folks, I recently started a new and also film-related and similar format YouTube channel called Mind Litter. If anyone is interested in hearing more about our favorite movies and TV shows beyond just the cars, such as other behind-the-scenes info, filming locations, and actor-related tidbits and such, I will put a link in the description below for those interested in checking it out. Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks for watching, and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like what you saw here. You guys are all great. See you next time.